General Hospital spoilers hint at an explosion in Croatia between September 8th and 12th, so it's time to discuss who will return to Port Charles and who will not. As GH aficionados know, whenever these adventurous missions take place outside of town, someone never returns home. The stakes are high at the Five Poppies Resort, where some suspicious activities are taking place in connection with PCU Professor Henry Hank Dalton's lab study in PC. WSB agents Jocelyn, Jax and Vaughn were sent to the resort on a recon assignment that went poorly, and the resort manager, Pascal, kept the two captive. Pascal was expecting to find out what the WSB knows about their dodgy endeavor, but has so far come up empty. There's also a secret boss involved, and Jen Sidwell is an investor. GH viewers have recently learned that Colette Moreau is compromised and working for the evil guys, accumulating WSB intelligence to prevent the agency from taking action. Of course, Dr. Britt Westbourne became involved in the WSB drama, contacting Jason Morgan via the burner phone he provided her in the hopes that he may return to the resort and save Joss and Vaughn. While the reception was weak and she was apprehended by Pascal, Jason noticed her SOS signal and quickly returned to the resort before boarding a jet to save the day. The week of September 8th to 12th has arrived, and with the preview video hinting to an explosion on the horizon in Croatia, it's hard not to believe that there may be a casualty or two in the aftermath. Let's start with the obvious question of who will be returning home. Jason and Britt will escape Five Poppies Resort and safely return to PC. Britt literally recently returned to the land of the living, so she couldn't have journeyed this far merely to get here. The fact that she and Jason are planning a romantic reunion also helps. Of all, Jason's status as a prominent player on the ABC series means he's very certain to return to PC unhurt. This leaves Jocelyn and Vaughn. Jason is extremely likely to return Jocelyn to Port Charles. Jason saving Joss's life at the last minute will reinforce the narrative of him continuously being Carly Spencer's hero. Furthermore, Carly's praise will bring another layer of drama to Jason and Britt's upcoming reunion, as Britt has expressed disdain of Carly and Jason's relationship, and how his BFF has always come first in his life. In reality, Carly is the reason their relationship failed the first time. With that stated, imagine the drama if Jason was unable to bring Jocelyn home. Jason had no idea Joss was at Five Poppies in the first place, so if the truth about Jack Brennan recruiting Jocelyn to the WSB was revealed, and the young girl went missing or died, Carly's wrath toward her boyfriend would be severe. Especially after she had confided in Brennan about the sorrow of losing Morgan Corinthos, and how she would be unable to continue if she lost another kid. Carly's rage will still break her romance with Brennan. Whether Jocelyn returns as her daughter or Jason spills the beans about her WSB stint, and the danger Brennan eventually put her in. He not only recruited Joss to the organization, but also assigned her to a mission she was not prepared for. So that leaves Vaughn as a throwaway figure who risked his life to save Jocelyn. Sure, the two dabbled in romance, but they are not a couple. Vaughn's death would allow Joss to grieve yet another love interest who had abandoned her too soon. Vaughn will most likely not return after Five Poppies for a variety of reasons, including drama and Joss' character development for her next chapter. Then there's Pascal. Could Jason bring him back to Port Charles, toss him in the WSB, and get him to spill the beans about the lab research going on at PCU and the resort? Does the character have the potential to become a series regular, or even a recurring personality? He may die in the midst of all this, but as he was just recently introduced to the canvas and was a villain, no tears will be shed if he does. Regardless, General Hospital spoilers indicate that there will be plenty of action, fascinating, scary moments, and more as Jason strives to rescue Britt, Jocelyn and Vaughn and help them escape their grave circumstances. CDL is the place to go for the latest General Hospital spoilers, news and updates, so make us your favorite GH destination. According to General Hospital teasers and rumors, Emily Scout Kane went missing while at the Lila's Kids Camp sleepover, and Cody Bell texted 911. Molly Lansing Davis couldn't answer him when it arrived, but she called to check what was going on. Could Cody have Scout? Scout did not want to go home to Drew Kane. Could she have run away on her own? Scout had previously refused to return home to Drew Kane after camp, so she requested that Danny Morgan take her to the Quartermain estate. Drew attempted to have Danny arrested for kidnapping, and then issued restraining orders against Scout's family members, prohibiting them from having any contact with her. But Cody, the stable master who looks after the Quartermain family stables and horses, isn't a family member. It makes perfect sense for Scout to seek refuge with him at the stables. She's on the property and close to her family, but not so close that they'd breach restraining orders. No one would be surprised if he informed Scout about them. He appointed Willow Tate Scout's guardian, and Scout did not want to be with her. Cody is undoubtedly aware of the restraining orders because he routinely visits the Quartermain home and resides in an apartment at the stables. He is in constant communication with anyone who owns a horse among the Quartermains, including Tracy Quartermain and his old friend Dante Falconeri. Brooke Lynn Quartermain Chase and Yuri, among others, could have tipped him out to recent developments. If Cody found Scout in the stables, Molly would be his first call, even if they are on the outs, because Molly witnessed him kissing Ava Jerome. The revelation of Christina Corinthos Davis' plot harmed Cody's hopes for a romantic relationship with Molly. But it makes a lot of sense for Cody to contact Molly about finding Scout, even if he is aware of the restraining orders, and especially if he is not. Number 1, Molly is Scout's maternal aunt. Number 2, Molly is a lawyer, specifically an assistant district attorney, and will be aware of what they can and cannot do. According to GH Spoilers, Cody will impress Molly by contacting about her niece's whereabouts and safety, which she will undoubtedly appreciate. Make sure to keep up on everything going on with GH right now. Check back regularly for General Hospital spoilers, news, and updates. Jason's pulse beat as he dashed through the abandoned warehouse, his boots booming against the cold concrete floor, while distant sounds of pandemonium thundered behind him. The air was filled with smoke and the faint aroma of gasoline, but his concentration remained unwavering. He realized there wasn't much time left. Every second counted because someone he cared about was in danger, and he would not stop until he got them home safely. The weight of the situation pressed down on him like never before, but his instincts were sharp and his determination unwavering. He was Jason Morgan. When people were in difficulty, he didn't hesitate to intervene. In the depths of the far corridor, he heard muffled voices, frantic cries, and the metallic clinking of chains. Jason paused, kneeling low and listening intently. The voice was weak yet familiar, Sam's. A rush of adrenaline coursed through him as he approached cautiously, employing every ounce of stealth he'd honed over the years. He put his back against the wall and peered over the corner, and what he saw shot a shock of rage through him. Across the dimly lighted room, Sam and Danny were tied to chairs, afraid but alive. 2 armed men paced near them, clearly waiting for orders from someone else. Jason's grip on his revolver tightened, and his jaw clenched as he considered his next action. He couldn't afford to fire without precision. One false step could result in disaster. He took deep breaths to focus himself before silently edging closer, each movement intentional and controlled. His earpiece clicked on just as he was about to take a clean shot. It was Spinelli, his voice frenetic yet steady. Stone cold. You need to act quickly. I broke into the building's CCTV system. There's a timed explosion in the southern wing. 15 minutes until this place catches fire. You don't have long, Jason said, his expression hardening. There was no room for hesitation. Keep me updated, he said quietly before terminating the line. The clock was ticking, and he needed to get everyone out safely. Suddenly, one of the guards turned to see movement in the shadows. Jason fired a clean, silent shot, and the man slumped before he could respond. The other twisted around, raising his weapon, but Jason was faster and dropped him with another flawless shot. Sam's wide, horrified eyes locked on Jason, and relief rushed across her face. Jason! She wept, tears threatening to fall. He rushed forward, untying her and Danny as swiftly as he could, drawing them both into a tight embrace for a brief moment before returning his mind to the objective. We have to move now, he stated firmly, his voice quiet yet urgent. Sam nodded, holding Danny's hand tightly. They hurried through the small passageways, Jason leading them to the safest exit. However, as they turned the corner, they were not alone. More armed men emerged, blocking their route and shouting instructions with their firearms drawn. Jason hurriedly forced Sam and Danny behind a steel column, instructing for them to remain down. Bullets raced into the air, ricocheting off the walls, and sparks flew everywhere as Jason returned fire with measured precision. The sound of gunshots rang violently, blotting out everything else, until Jason dispatched them one by one. He moved like a machine with no hesitation or fear, just survival and determination driving him. But just as he thought they were safe, an explosion shook the structure, causing dust and debris to fall from the ceiling. The explosion came from somewhere nearby, and Jason understood the situation was escalating faster than he expected. Spinelli's voice rang out again, this time more frantic. "Stone cold, a change of plans. The detonation sequence has been hastened. You have 5 minutes, maybe fewer." Jason growled under his breath before grasping Sam's hand and pushing her forward. Every hallway seemed endless, and each locked door presented a new challenge, but he never stopped. They finally burst from a side entrance, the cold night air striking their faces as sirens wailed in the background. But before they could get to safety, Jason saw something that froze him in his tracks. Carly could be found across the parking lot, tied to a post near another set of fuel tanks. Her wrists were shackled, her face battered but determined. Jason's chest clenched as soon as their eyes connected. He couldn't leave her behind, no matter the danger. "Get Danny out of here," he said firmly, handing Sam the car keys. "Drive to the safe house. Don't wait for me." Sam paused, terror flashing in her eyes, but complied, knowing better than to argue when lives were on the line. Jason dashed across the open lot, dodging stray bullets as more guys approached, evidently determined to ensure none of them escaped alive. He slid behind a stack of crates and returned fire till the last one fell. He got to Carly, cut the ropes and helped her stand. She attempted to speak, but he shook his head, pulling her with him. "There's no time. Move." The sound of ticking resonated in his ears, serving as a mental reminder that the entire structure could collapse at any moment. As they approached the departure gate, another gunman appeared, shooting straight at Jason. Before Jason could respond, a shot went off, but it wasn't from his gun. Despite her shaking hands, Carly grabbed a fallen weapon and pressed the trigger. The man dropped instantaneously, and she looked at Jason, breathless and trembling. He gave her a sign of approval before taking her hand and moving forward. They got to the black SUV just as Sam pulled up, Danny safely inside. Jason pushed Carly into the back seat, slammed the door, and jumped into the driver's seat. His tires squealed on the road as he accelerated away from the warehouse. Behind them, the building exploded in a tremendous blaze, rattling the windows and sending smoke shooting into the night sky. Jason did not glance back because he could not afford to. Survival was the only goal now. For a few while, quiet filled the car, interrupted only by the sound of everyone collecting their air. Danny held to Sam, Carly slumped against the door, tears flowing down her cheeks, and Jason fixed his gaze on the dark road ahead, his fingers white on the steering wheel. However, the danger was not over yet. Spinelli's voice filtered through again, this time somber. "Stone cold, I'm hearing conversation. Whoever coordinated this is not finished." Jason clenched his jaw as he said, "There's a second wave, they want you alive, but everyone else is expendable. This wasn't a routine rescue, it was battle." He tightened his grip on the steering wheel, mentally preparing for what lay ahead. He'd gotten Sam, Danny, and Carly out, but there were still others in danger, and he wasn't going to stop until they were all safe. His mind raced as he considered every possible situation and enemy who could be responsible. Cyrus Renault? Victor Cassidy's previous contacts? Or is someone unexpectedly plucking strings from the shadows? They finally arrived at the safe house, a remote cottage deep in the woods where Jason had prepared for scenarios like this. As he escorted everyone inside, he double-checked the security systems, shutting down all conceivable entrance points. Sam helped Danny calm down while Carly paced, her feelings finally coming out. "Jason," she said, her voice quivering, "I thought I was going to die in there." He turned to face her and rested a steady palm on her shoulder. "Not while I'm breathing," he answered firmly, his voice low but confident. She nodded, tears streaming softly as she dropped into a chair, feeling overwhelmed but protected. Outside, the night was deceptively tranquil, with the faint sound of crickets hiding the mayhem from which they had just escaped. Jason stared at the window, scanning the darkness, his instincts still telling him that this wasn't finished. Something bigger was on its way. Something far more dangerous than anything they had ever encountered. Jason knew one thing for certain. Not everyone would make it home this time. Another trap was already in place somewhere out there, and the game had only just begun. The lush woodland around Camp Willow Creek was strangely peaceful that night, but for the occasional flutter of leaves caused by a gentle breeze. For decades, the camp, located in a rural valley in the Pacific Northwest, has served as a haven for adventure-seeking teenagers. Its spacious grounds, filled with cabins and crisscrossed by pathways leading to a tranquil lake, promised a summer of companionship and adventure. But on that particular evening, the peace was broken by a single, desperate 911 call made by a youngster named Cody Harper. The urgent call revealed that one of the camp's scouts, 14-year-old Ethan Ramsey, had left without a trace. What followed was a wave of confusion, distrust, and unanswered questions that engulfed the little village and sparked a larger mystery. Cody, a lanky 16-year-old with a reputation for dependability, was one of the more experienced scouts at Camp Willow Creek. He had been going to the camp for 3 summers, receiving badges for navigation and survival skills. His voice trembled as he explained to the dispatcher that Ethan, a quieter boy who had just joined the program that year, had not returned after a group trek. The other scouts and counselors explored the paths, shouting out Ethan's name in the dusk, but there was no sign of him. No backpack, no tracks, no traces. The dispatcher, calm but insistent, pressed Cody for information. When was Ethan last seen? What was he wearing? And why did it take hours to report him missing? Cody's comments were sluggish, hesitant, and appeared to raise more questions than answers. The call, which was eventually leaked to local media, became a source of mystery. Cody's tone fluctuated between terror and something more difficult to pin down. Guilt, perhaps, or fear of revealing too much. He claimed that Ethan was acting weird during the hike, lagging behind the others and muttering to himself. But when pressed for specifics, Cody hesitated, delivering hazy statements that contradicted what other scouts later reported. Some stated Ethan had been his normal reserved self, while others whispered about a fight he had with Cody earlier that day, the nature of which no one could agree on. The contradictions piled up, and Cody's call was quickly examined by everyone from park rangers to armchair detectives online. Search teams descended on Camp Willow Creek before dawn, their flashlights piercing through the morning fog. Volunteers, police, and K-9 units searched the woodland while helicopters buzzed overhead, scanning the canopy. Ethan's absence drew global attention, with news sites speculating on everything from a runaway kit to a potential abduction. The camp's formerly unblemished reputation was suddenly under examination. Parents wanted answers, withdrawing their children from the program as rumors circulated. Have the counselors been negligent? Is the camp's distant location a liability? Why did Cody, of all people, call 911 when the counselors were supposed to be in charge? Cody himself became a lightning point of suspicion. Authorities constantly questioned him, poking and prodding holes in his account. He claimed to have been the last to see Ethan, near a fork in the route where the group had briefly separated. According to Cody, Ethan went off to check something out, and never came back. But the timetable did not add up. Other scouts reported the group remained together, and no one remembered Ethan breaking away. Cody's parents, protective and perplexed, argued that their son was simply a child trying to do the right thing. However, whispers among the campers painted a different picture. Cody was frustrated with Ethan's slow pace, and possibly even bullied him. Some even suspected Cody knew more than he let on. The forest itself seemed to keep its secrets. Despite weeks of searching, no trace of Ethan was discovered. No clothing, no personal belongings, not even a piece of evidence indicating where he had gone. The terrain was tough, with dense underbrush and steep ravines, but experienced rangers said it was doubtful that someone would vanish totally. Theories arose. Ethan had become lost and succumbed to the weather, or he had been abducted by someone prowling in the woods. A few residents even rekindled old woodland legends, including stories of unusual lights and missing hikers that had never been explained. However, each theory had a counterpoint, and none seemed to suit exactly. Cody's 911 call remained the focus of the inquiry. Transcripts showed that he hesitated before stating Ethan's name, as if unsure or reluctant. He had also described the trail wrong, placing Ethan in a spot that did not correspond to the group's journey. Was it nerves? Or something else? Online forums were alive with speculation, with some users dissecting the call's audio for background noises, and others suggesting that Cody's pauses indicated at a cover-up. Some even pointed out Cody's history of stretching the facts, noting a small instance from the previous summer in which he inflated a narrative about a bear sighting. Was he capable of something more sinister?